What's going on, Organic Growth Nation? This is Cameron Devon Crew in the building this evening. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight I have a very special podcast episode that I've been hell of excited to share with you. This one is titled Valuing Feminine Energy. And I'm going to be talking to actually both the fellas and the ladies tonight. So for my fellas, what you're going to take away from this is how you can actually respect, appreciate, and have healthier relationships with the feminine energy all around you and the feminine women in your life. My ladies, what you're going to take away from this is actually an understanding of how men receive and experience feminine energy so that you can then express your femininity in a way that's going to help you have healthier relations with the men in your life. Now, before I get into the podcast episode, a quick little update. I've had a fantastic week. Last weekend, I actually got sick. I'm not even gonna hold you. Here's what happened. So Friday night, I went out, me and my cousin went out to the strip like normal, just socializing, dress real fly. We were having a really good time. We wound up being out all the way until 7 a.m. So, we left the strip around 7. I'm driving home. I'm like, fuck, the sun is coming up. I literally woke up at 7 yesterday, so I've been up 24 hours straight, like work, going out, drinking, having fun. Damn, no sleep. I made it home. I was gonna get some rest, but I felt pretty good, in the moment. So I was like, shit, let me just go do some business. I'll walk over to Veggie Nation, it's down the street, and I'll just get on the laptop and edit some videos. I'll do some financial and some business planning. So I put on a fly fit and I went and did that. I had some coffee and I was there for about 5 hours doing what I do. Saturday, same situation. We went out to the strip. I actually recorded a podcast, but we went out to the strip. We were out until only about 2, but when I waited home, I was up until 5 in the morning. You know what I'm saying? And then I had to get up at 8. So I only got like 2-3 hours of sleep for real. Sunday, I got a full night of sleep. And then Monday, I fucked around and did the same thing I did on Saturday. I was out for a little while, but then I made it home and I was up all the way until the sun rose. I'm in my apartment, I'm watching the sunrise, and I had to be at work at 8 a.m. So it's like I get 2 hours of sleep. So over the entire Friday to Monday, I literally had like 5 hours of sleep total. So, what I'm saying? Monday, I felt like death at work. I felt hella tired. I was like, I'm cool, I'll go to sleep tonight. I'll be back on top on Tuesday. Went to sleep, got up on Tuesday. Kind of felt like I might have had like a sinus infection going on, but I wasn't tripping. I'm stay healthy and a hater, so I'm like, this shit is gonna pass. I go to work. I'm feeling good for the first part of the day. I got my coffee. I'm powering through work. Midway through my shift, I start feeling like I'm having like weird chills and aches in my body. I'm like, there's no way I'm getting sick. I wasn't even sweating it. I went to yoga. Did yoga, sweated hella. I'm like, cool. I'm definitely good now because I sweated the toxins out. You know what I'm saying? I was in the temperature. I made it home. I swear, when I get home, the sinus infection is kicking on heavier. I look in the mirror because I felt like when I was swallowing, I was feeling like a little tightness in my throat. So I look in the mirror, open my mouth. My lymph nodes are like half the size of golf balls. I'm like, yo, shit. Like, I think I might be getting sick. I still didn't repay it any respect though, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, I'm gonna bounce back. So I shower, I drink some tea, I get in bed. That night, my lymph nodes swelled up so much, I had to lean my head up on a pillow because I was nervous that I was gonna choke or some shit in my sleep. So I slept all night, woke up Wednesday, fully sick. I'm like, fuck. I'm stay healthy and ahead. I haven't been sick in like 2 years, but I was like sick. I called out of work. I mustered the strength. I went to Whole Foods. I got some elderberry and zinc cough drops. I got some oil of oregano, essential oils, a tincture, which does numbers, by the way. And then I also got like a wellness immunity shot with a few different things in it. So I took the shot. I was eating the cough drops all day, and I took 3 of the different oil of oregano shots throughout the day. Went to sleep. I felt like shit, but when I woke up, I was like 85% on top. I got up at like 4 a.m. I had some energy. My lymph nodes were less swollen. And I went through the day, and yes, indeed, ladies and gentlemen, I powered through the weekend. I did what I do. You know what I'm saying? Today, I went to yoga, and I've been fighting against, like, when I go to yoga, it's like 103 degrees in the studio, 80% humidity. you literally sweat like around a half a gallon of water. Like I'll literally have a pool of sweat around me at the end of every class. And you'll burn anywhere from 600 to 800 calories plus. And I don't eat that much, so I don't really even eat that many calories to begin with. Now, I've been trying to figure out how to keep my body more hydrated so I can lose all that sweat and not feel like I'm gonna die and pass out from heat stroke in the middle of class. So today I had a bunch of spring water, alkaline bust down, and I juiced a whole watermelon. And the way I like to juice my watermelons, just to put y'all on some good organic game, just slice your watermelon up, but when you juice it, include the rind. Don't throw the rind away. The rind has this green juice that's full of minerals and vitamins that are gonna make your immune system and your hydration levels do numbers. Yes, indeed. Now, I hope y'all appreciate the setup, ladies and gentlemen. For tonight's episode, I had to do something a little special. Let me go ahead and light this incense one time, you know what I mean? I got the candle action going. I got a little rosé wine right here. Just something to help me relax and flow with y'all this evening. Straight out of Spain. Good job, Whole Foods. All right, ladies and gentlemen, once again, this podcast episode is titled Valuing Feminine Energy. Now, normally when I come to y'all with the Visualize Your Success podcast, I pretty much have a few bullet points of what I'm going to touch on, and I just like to flow because I'm not really concerned with how articulate I'm being. I'm more concerned with I want you to feel me. I want you to feel what I'm saying so that you can internalize it and apply it to your life. But tonight, we are talking about feminine energy. We are talking about masculine energy. So we're basically talking about metaphysics, but I don't want this to be a woo-woo conversation. I want this to be something that my fellas can take away, have a better understanding of women, feminine women that you desire, and I want you to be able to apply this knowledge in a way that's going to help you have healthier relationships with the women in your life. And all my beautiful feminine women out there, I want you to understand how we men receive and experience feminine energy so that you can understand, on one hand, how to choose better men that you can be submissive and surrender to and be feminine with and have healthier relationships with. And then also understand how to express your femininity better and how to get rid of a lot of the negative stigmas that our society has placed on femininity. So yes, indeed, ladies and gentlemen, let me go ahead and switch up the music because I'm about to flow. I know y'all like, Cameron, just spit. That was a long intro. I'm about to spit. All right. This is going to be a real smooth episode, everybody. All my fellas, pour you up a glass of beer, get you a glass of wine, maybe a nice whiskey on the rocks. Find you a good chair, sit back, relax, maybe grab your pad and your pen and take some notes. My ladies, this is going to be a perfect episode for you to pour up that warm bathtub, put you some bath salts in there, some essential oils in there, relax, get you a nice glass of rosé, some champagne, whatever it is you like to sip on, and just really relax and just soak this in because we're gonna get really deep tonight. But once again, I need everybody's attention because this game is gonna be very applicable for you in your relationship and your dating life. And I wanna make a quick side note. We're raised to put a lot of priority on where we go to college after high school. What are we gonna do with our career? How are we gonna make our money? Where are we gonna live? What kind of home are we gonna have? What kind of car are we gonna drive? But if you really think about it, one of the most important things that's gonna impact your life more than any of that is your relationships. You can get your career right. You can have your money right. You can have your credit right. You can live in the ideal place. But if your relationships are toxic and unhealthy, and they're not fulfilling, and every night you go to bed with a partner where y'all have issues, or you have no partner because you haven't found that right person that you can really share your energy with. Your life is still going to be miserable to a certain degree. So we need to take relationships and the understanding of the partners that we desire a little bit more seriously. And I want to make a quick note as well. I'm talking about masculine and feminine energy tonight. I'm talking about man and woman union. But I don't want to alienate the LGBT. You know, in that community, you can have a woman-on-woman relationship, but you're still going to have one of those partners taking on the feminine role. You're still going to have one of those partners taking on the masculine role. For two men who decide to be in a relationship, one of you is going to be more feminine, one of you is going to be more masculine. So me, I am a heterosexual male, so I'm speaking about my experience and what I understand and what I'm qualified to speak about. So I'm going to be talking about men being with women, women being with men, but at the same time, I want you to understand when I'm talking about the masculine and feminine, this game does apply to you and your relationships as well. Yes, indeed. Okay. So the first point we're getting into is, in our society, do we value, meaning do we respect, appreciate, and relate with in a constructive manner, feminine energy? The most logical thing for us to do is actually ask the feminine women in our culture, do you feel respected? Do you feel valued? Do you feel that your energy is related with in a way that's healthy for you and the other parties involved? Let's go back to about 2015, around the time of the last presidential election, was when Trump was originally coming into office. We had another resurgence of women's rights movement. Not saying it wasn't taking place altogether, but we had another resurgence of it coming into the mainstream in a very passionate way. You know, we had the Me Too movement. We had the anti-slut shaming walks led by Amber Rose and other figures. A lot of women were expressing and demonstrating in public that they were dissatisfied with the state of affairs between men and women at that time. Now, let's go all the way back to the beginning of America. In the beginning of this country, we had systems, laws, and policies in place that actually oppressed women. And what I mean by that is we put systems in place that kept women from being able to compete in society, in the economy, in the political system. It was illegal for women to be able to own property and to have assets or anything of valuable that would make them independent beings in the society. So the only way that a woman was able to actually have anything was if she was to cleave onto a man in marriage. And basically what we did was we made women completely dependent upon men. Now, my ladies, I want you to understand that that is called handcuffing. My fellas, that is handcuffing. Now, you have three types of handcuffers. The first type of handcuffer is the financial handcuffer. This is the most common. The financial handcuffer is a man who's able to amass a certain amount of financial abundance in his life. Now, he has a low sense of self-worth about his masculinity, his value as a man, especially in relationship to a woman. He may be confident in a business scenario, but when it comes to dealing with women, he can't spit game for shit. He doesn't understand how to relate to a woman. He has a desire for women, but he doesn't know how to relate to them in a way where he can have natural attraction. So what he does is he compensates for his lack of value that he feels by providing as much as he can financially for the woman. So he might start off by buying her a drink, taking her out on dates that are expensive, and then he'll elevate that to buying her gifts, jewelry, taking her on vacations that she can't afford for herself. He might buy the bitch a car. He might buy her an apartment, pay her rent, pay her bills. And what he's trying to do is put the woman in a situation where she gets used to a certain lifestyle that he can provide that she can't provide for herself. So this is handcuffing, because if the woman ever loses attraction for him or feels attraction for another man and moves away from him, he can simply remove the financial tangibles and the resources in order to lock the woman down. So it's a long-term strategy that that man plays. And I don't want you ladies to fall into that. You know, if a man is trying to lead the relationship with finances and the chemistry is not there, you need to understand that that is a strategy that he's employing in order to lock you down in the mid to long term. Now, the second type of handcuffer is the emotional handcuffer. So this is what we call a simp. The simp is a man, he has a desire for women, and again, he tries to use his emotional commitment to the woman in order to basically get her to feel guilty if she decides to move away from him. So this is the guy, he always acts like he's doing some honorable shit. So he's like, you know, I know you've been with certain dudes who didn't treat you right. I know that you desire to be loved. I know you desire to be like held and cared for by a real man, da da da. This guy will act like he's playing the savior role. This is what we call, you know, the man with the Captain Save-A-Ho cape on his back. So this man has the S on his chest, he wears his heart on his sleeve, and he gives you his emotions, and it feels good at first. It does feel good to be cared for. But what happens, once again, if y'all grow apart for whatever reason, the man will play emotional blackmail. He might act like you're breaking his heart. He might pretend to commit suicide or harm himself or say, you're ruining him, you know, I was such a good man, why would you leave me? You want to leave me for some other man who's not going to treat you this way? At the end of the day, he's compensating and trying to use his emotions as a guilt-tripping mechanism to keep you in that relationship. Now, the third type of handcuffer is the physical handcuffer. These are the ass beaters. The physical handcuffer is a guy who hasn't developed his intellect, his intelligence, his sociability, or his finances enough to be able to go out, meet women, you know, be able to take women on dates, relate with them in a way that makes sense, they have good chemistry. So what he does is he overcompensates by being the overly manly man. You know, he over accentuates his bravado. He has a deep voice, he's loud. The woman might be attracted to this initially because it does seem masculine, you know? It might turn you on at the idea of being in the presence of a man who has so much assertiveness, so much confidence, so much aggressiveness, you know? You want to be taken to a certain degree by a man who just exudes that masculine bravado. But what you don't know initially is that this man is just overcompensating for an insecurity that he has in himself as a man and the lack of development he has. So if y'all move apart from each other, this man will literally, physically stop you from leaving the apartment. If y'all get into an argument and you want space, he'll jump in between you, push you back, hold you, stop you from leaving. If y'all are in the car, you know, and he's getting loud and he's yelling about some shit that he's upset about something you did, or maybe something he thought you did, and you're like, you know what, let me get out of the car, this is getting heated. He'll fucking slam on the brakes, stop you from getting out of the car, force you to stay in the situation. If you try to leave the relationship, he might literally whoop your ass. So that's the physical handcuffer. Now, I say all that to say this. In the beginning of this country, we had a system in place where we handcuffed women by keeping them out of the ability to be able to earn any income and attain any assets and valuables for themselves that would make them independent. So we made women dependent on us men. So that's just a systematic form of handcuffing. It is natural for a person when you're in a situation where someone is trying to lock you down, like think about people in prison, all that you can think about when you're being locked down is, how can I get out of this situation? How can I become free from this situation that's entrapping me? So what we're experiencing right now with the resurgence of women's rights, women saying they want equality in the workplace, they want equality in terms of how they get to express their sexuality. They don't want to be slut-shamed. They want to have the same type of freedom and equality that men have. What that is really is just a rebelling against the mass handcuffing that's taking place from all these insecure men. So the next segment, ladies and gentlemen, why do we have a culture of anti-femininity? The reason is this: men who are masculine have a natural, strong desire to commune with feminine energy and feminine women. Now, the reason we have a culture of anti-femininity, because I know that sounds ironic. You're saying on one hand, Cameron, men, you know, appreciate and desire these women and they want these women, but they're treating them bad. They're handcuffing them. They're oppressing them. They're locking them down. Well, men, or anytime a person oppresses another person, that is basically because the person doing the oppression has the person on a pedestal. You feel beneath them. You feel, as a man, insecure in your masculine essence, that you are enough for a woman to be attracted to you, and you view her as the feminine on this pedestal that you're not worthy of. So what you have to do is you have to do shit to take her off the pedestal that you actually placed her on in the first place, in your mind. So that's where the oppression comes from. That's where the mistreatment comes from. If a man looks at a beautiful woman, she's got an amazing body. She has a feminine essence just when she walks, the way she moves her hips, her shoulders, the way feminine energy just expresses through her body. He has a strong desire for that. So what he has to do, but if he doesn't feel worthy that he can actually be a man and have that woman attracted to him and just want to be with him just for the sake of who he is as a man, he has to talk shit about the woman. He has to say, oh, she's a slut. Oh, that girl's just using her body so that she can get tangibles from men. She's a gold digger, stuff like this. So what happens is when men don't feel secure in their masculinity, they start acting out and start trying to tear down the very women they desire in order to feel more equal to them. So that's where the culture of anti-femininity comes from. And if that went over your head a little bit, think about how we deal with the animals in the animal kingdom. When you go to a zoo, for the most part, we have behind cages the most big, powerful, and majestic animals in the animal kingdom. You want to go to a zoo and you want to see an elephant behind a cage. You want to see a lion behind a cage. You want to see a bear, a gorilla behind a cage, because you know that those animals are big and powerful. They could potentially kill you. And to be able to see that man has been able to lock them down behind cages, it gives you psychological gratification. It makes you feel like you're not so beneath that animal. So the same thing applies to men who feel insecure in their relations with women who are very feminine. So the next part of this segment, ladies and gentlemen, what is feminine energy? And this is the part that I really want to get into. What is feminine energy? Feminine energy is life force. When we look out at the world, everything that fills up our world with energy, that is the feminine. The masculine energy is basically constants. Feminine energy is change, masculine energy is constants. So when we think about our world, there's a duality present in everything in our universe. You have night and day, you have cold and hot, you have positive and negative ends of an electrical pole that electricity runs through. We have beginning and end. We have life and death. We have birth and death. So when we look at life, there's always a cyclical pattern taking place between a duality between two poles. Now, feminine energy expresses, or it seeks to express, flow. It wants to be constantly moving in a current of flowing energy. Masculine energy wants stillness because the masculine is consciousness, it's constants. Masculine energy is the thing that does not change through the ever-flowing current of life as it unfolds. Whereas feminine energy is the representation of all of that range of change and energy that takes place throughout life. A lot of times in our culture, we like to say that, women are extremely emotional, men are not emotional. And that is true to a certain degree. However, because we have a culture of anti-femininity, we've kind of looked down on that emotionality as something to be weak. You see, basically, if you want to understand what emotion is, it is simply energy in motion. Emotion is energy in motion. So your woman, and this actually brings me to my next segment, your woman's feminine expression is the most powerful force that is available to us in our world. Feminine energy is the most powerful force in our world. When you look out at the world and you look at the power that the ocean has. It can be still in one moment, but like I said, feminine energy is the representation of change. So in the next moment, you can have a rogue wave sweep across the surface of the ocean and capsize the ship. When you look at a river, a white water river with rapids, it's flowing, the water's gushing, there's currents on the bottom and the top. Masculine energy is kind of like the river banks. It's that stillness and that constance that provides structure for that feminine life force to just flow through it. A great way of thinking about feminine energy is by looking at the clouds and weather. One moment you can be looking at a blue sky. The next hour, your sky can be full of clouds, white and gray. And then 1 minute later, the clouds can take a whole different expression, and then rain can start pouring, and then you can have a thunderstorm with electricity flowing through. And the feminine energy is that. Feminine energy is the representation of all of the possibility of the expression of energy in our world. The full range. It can be chaotic, or it can be creative. It can be something that is sorrowful and gloomy, or it can be something that is joyous and radiant and full of love. So when we're talking about feminine energy, there's no way to judge the expression of feminine energy, because feminine energy is simply the expression of life force. Let me make a little bit more sense. So a lot of times when men are dealing with women, they're like, we're about to go to the movies, we're about to go to a restaurant, and you're looking at your woman and you're like, okay, she seemed fine one moment, she seemed like she was happy, everything was cool, and right when we're about to walk out the door, it's like her mood just shifted. She's gloomy all of a sudden, she seems like she's feeling depressed, or maybe she's irritated, maybe she's angry. It just, when you look at her, when you look at her body, the way she's stiff, her facial expressions, the things she's saying, it's like, God, like, what is wrong? Trying to analyze and understand your woman's mood is literally like trying to analyze and understand the weather or the shape shifting of the clouds. What affects the weather are current. It could be literally currents taking place in the ocean in a certain part of the world, currents taking place in the air, in the atmosphere in a certain part of the world. It could deal with the amount of condensation in the atmosphere, the amount of negative and positive ions of electricity in the atmosphere. Literally, there are so many factors that go into the expression of femininity that when you're dealing with your woman, at any moment she could be one way, but she's the representation of change in the truest sense. So whatever's taking place in the world around us, in our community, with her friends, with her family, inside you, with her career, or whatever she's feeling just at large in the world, that expression can flow through her, and there's really no way for you to understand what it is. What your job is as a man who is masculine is to just be stillness, be consciousness itself, and do not be emotional like your woman and react to the change taking place in her. What you need to do to hold your woman down and to be a thorough man, whenever she's experiencing a particular mood, you just need to be able to remain grounded, stay present with her while she's going through the mood. You see, again, I said the feminine seeks for the flow of life force. The masculine seeks for stillness. Your woman does not want her mood to come to a stop. And I know as a man, it makes sense when you see your woman happy, she's smiling, her body is open, she's exuding this beautiful, joyous radiance. You have no problem seeing that flow because it fills you up in a positive way. It inspires you, it turns you on. But when your woman is gloomy or irritated or angry, or she's going through chaotic turbulence in her mood, you want that to come to an end, because as a man, you're constantly trying to fix things and bring things towards peace, which is what stillness is. But what you need to understand as a man, and I hope this helps you have healthier relationships with the women in your life, whenever she's going through any kind of mood, your woman's mood is not a problem for you to fix. There is nothing wrong with the mood of your woman, no matter if it's gloomy and chaotic, no matter if it's joyous and beautiful and radiant. Your woman's mood is simply the expression of life's force in its trueness. So what you need to do is remain still, remain conscious and present with your woman. Read your woman, be able to see what she's actually expressing. And in the reading of that, you need to be able to see, what can I give her with my masculine gifts to open her back up to the higher emotions of joy, of radiance, of exuberance, so that you can bring her out of that state of chaos and bring her towards the higher emotions. That'll be healthier for her and you, so y'all can move towards the purpose and mission y'all have in life in a way of empowerment and not disempowerment of depression. Again, your woman can be gloomy for days on end and never seek to bring that to an end. The gift you can give your woman, and again, there's nothing wrong with her moods, but the gift you can give her is whenever she goes into that, you don't get irritated. You don't get stressed. You don't get mad at your woman and say, why the hell are you acting like this? I would just wish you weren't depressed. It fucking bothers me whenever you're acting in these kind of ways because I don't like seeing you like this. And I do understand what you're saying when you say that. But what you need to do is just be present, don't emotionally react, and then give her your gift of presence, humor, penetrate her with your loving presence. Go into her and see where that radiant, beautiful energy is that you're always attracted to, and get past the gloominess, get past the depression in a skillful way so that you can open her back up so that she can be more expressive in a healthy way. And that's how y'all maintain a healthy household. Don't ever let yourself get to the point where your woman's constant changing moods irritate you and make you act out in negative ways. So let's get to the next point, ladies and gentlemen, and that is feminine attractiveness is one of the most expensive commodities in the world. So when we look at our world, we look at things like the beauty industry worth billions of dollars. We look at the porn industry worth billions of dollars. We look at the fashion industry. We look at the world and we understand that universally, mankind loves being able to actually put feminine beauty on a stage where you can admire it and soak it in and appreciate it. And we're willing to pay a lot of money for that. Nowhere in the world, not gonna say nowhere in the world, it is not universal for masculine beauty to be appreciated and paid for in the same way that we appreciate and pay for feminine beauty. So what I want you to understand is that you have a real gift being born as a beautiful woman. What you want to do is be feminine, fit, and friendly as possible. And what I mean by that is the femininity part. Men are irresistibly attracted to feminine energy. Even outside of a woman, a man who is extremely masculine, like I said, he's in a place of stillness. He's in a place of consciousness. So a man who's masculine, he goes through his work week. He's focused on his goals, his agenda. He's focused on his purpose. He's very stoic. He doesn't allow the emotion and the life force of energy to just flow through his body and fill him up in the way that you do. So when you're looking at your man throughout the week and you're like, he's just sitting here with this somber ass mood, that's because he's just conscious. He's just moving towards his goals and he's being masculine. Now, a man like that, he is always going to enjoy soaking in feminine energy. That could represent him drinking alcohol, because what it does is it brings in a little bit of stimulation and relaxation, it makes lights and everything a little bit more exuberant. He might like going out in nature and looking at the feminine beauty of nature. He may enjoy listening to music. He may want to go to the strip club and just see the actual presentation of femininity expressing itself on stripper poles and shit like that in a lower way. He may want to go out in public where there's music and lights and women walking around and people walking around and things happening so he can soak in some of that energy to bring him out of that state of somberness. But what you can do in your relations with a man is understand that through your body, you can actually express a yearning energy. A yearning energy which is basically life force. The way that you move your hips, the way that you open your chest and allow your breast to kind of show, the way that you smile and allow loving energy to radiate through your eyes, When you walk through a public place, you know that you see, depending on how you walk on different days. On one day, you may be a little bit more rigid and reserved in your body, and you don't get as much attention from the masculine around you. But on another day where you just feel open, you feel expressive, energy is radiating through you, your hips are moving, you're dressed in colors, your eyes are bright and wide, and you know that men can't help but just look, like you're breaking necks everywhere you go. So if you understand and value that, what you can do in your life when you're dealing with men is actually prioritize expressing that femininity, and men will do almost anything to have that in their life. Men are willing to damn near pay any price, provide anything that they possibly can, be motivated to actually pursue their career, become more educated, and make more money so that they can provide better to attract more and more feminine women into their life. A man will be willing to damn near sacrifice himself and or kill for that feminine energy that he really values. So, you know, in our culture, like I said earlier, because of that anti-femininity we've developed a language and kind of a way of talking about the feminine and that emotional expressiveness in a way where we make it seem like it's something weak, to be vulnerable, to be emotional, to have that range of expression where you're not grounded. But the reality is, it is so valuable to men who are masculine because it fills a stoic man up with life force. It gives him another edge where he can be more motivated, more inspired, and more driven to pursue his purpose. It gives him something that he wants to live for. It gives him something that fuels him to move towards his purpose in a way that he couldn't do if he didn't have that feminine in his life. So I want women to get away from, and I meet a lot of women out, and I'll ask them, like, you know, I'll talk to them about feminine and masculine energy, and I'll be like, well, do you identify more as the masculine or feminine? And because women don't want to seem weak, they'll say, you know, I see myself as masculine because I have a career and I'm successful, but I'm looking at a beautiful woman. She's well dressed, she's fit, she's sexy. When I'm looking at her talk to me, I can see the expression coming through her. I can see the flow of passion in everything she says, no matter how mundane the topic of conversation is. And I'm like, baby, you are feminine, but you don't want to say you're feminine because of the stigma that femininity has in our culture. So what I want you women to do is reclaim that value in the feminine energy, the expression, because you fill up the world. Without you, there would be basically emptiness. There would be nothing but stoicism. You know, our world would be bland and flavorlessness. When a woman comes into a man's life who's classically masculine, she will literally come in, he'll have empty walls, you know, very few colors, go into his closet, he'll have his basic work clothes, maybe 2 or 3 outfits for going out, open his refrigerator, you got some eggs, you got some bacon, you got some steak, some ketchup, some salt and pepper, there's no fucking spices, no seasoning, he has no different variety of foods. When the woman comes in, she's gonna bring in different types of fruits, she's gonna fill up the fridge, she's gonna put decorations and plants on the countertop, she's gonna put beautiful artwork on the wall, she's gonna have her own energy in the house, lighting fragrances, lighting incense. And you know, that's where I get all my playa shit from, because I be dealing with so many women who are feminine that they've taught me how to actually bring feminine energy into my life to fill myself up as a masculine man. And it motivates me and inspires me. So I want you women to understand how powerful that feminine inspiration really is. And take care of yourself. You want to be as pretty coming out of the shower as possible. And what you have to do is basically eat healthy, drink lots of water, remove the synthetics and the artificial ingredients from the food as much as possible that are in your diet. You need to exercise. You do not need to weigh more than a man as a woman. You know, the average man in America is around 5'10", 165 pounds. These days, a lot of the broke, tricking ass dudes have made it popular for us to be like, oh yeah, you know what I'm saying, I like a thick bitch, you know what I mean, I want a thick female, you know what I mean, I like some curves. And we do like shape on a woman, but shape and curves are different. Shape means that a woman has a slim waist, nice, feminine, womanly hips that look like they're good for childbearing. She has nice, supple breasts. She doesn't have a lot of excessive fat around her arms, her shoulders, her inner thighs. She doesn't have cankles. This woman can put on heels, a nice tight dress. She has a shapely leg that just slenders down to the bottom when she walks. She looks like a figurine moving around, a ballerina, a yogi, something like that. Just a beautiful woman. She looks like a work of art in motion. And all of you women have the capacity to have that kind of body. You just have to be disciplined enough to actually do that. And when you do, like I said, feminine beauty is one of the most expensive, and I'm gonna use the word commodities, but don't take that in a negative way. Feminine energy is one of the most expensive commodities we have in the world. So if you wanna come up in life, ladies, if you wanna have everything, and I literally mean, if you wanna be getting took shopping, if you wanna go to nice fancy dinner dates at $200 plus restaurants, if you want a nice Gucci bag, some Yves Saint Laurent heels, if you want a Moncler jacket that you can wear to New York in the wintertime, if you want to go on a hot air balloon tour out in Napa Valley, you know what I'm saying? If you want a nice hotel a nice condo or apartment in the Panorama Towers or the Sky Towers out here in Las Vegas, if you want a man who's willing to devote to you and provide as much as he possibly can, be as feminine, fit, and friendly and cooperative as possible. That will motivate a man to the point where he will want to do anything to keep you in his life. So you can come up in life. You won the lottery, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. How can men value and relate with feminine energy in women? So, my men, what I want you to understand, my fellas, is that feminine energy can be your motivation, it can be your inspiration. All my businessmen out there, if you've ever read the book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, on the laws and the science of success, one of the chapters near the end of the book is called the law of sex transmutation. So all my fellas who are very masculine, you feel very stoic, still present and conscious throughout life. You don't allow yourself to be emotional. You're very rigid and you move in a straight line. You burn out, you're at a deficit of that energy you need to keep yourself excited, creative, inspired and happy. And I know for all of you, when we're out in the world and we see beautiful buildings, when we see beautiful landscapes, but most importantly, when we see beautiful women in dresses with beautiful, shapely bodies, women who allow that yearning of love and sexuality to express through the way they move their hips, the way they walk, the way they talk, how melodious their voice is, how they look at you with their eyes like they're just yearning for that masculine, loving presence to come and be with them and take them. I know that makes you feel a heat, passionate energy in your body resonating from your pelvic floor up through your chest, up through your spine, up into your head, just filling you up all the way down to your feet. It makes you feel alive, literally. So what I want us to do as masculine men is understand the value of that feminine expression. And if you have a strong desire for a woman, whether you're able to get her or not, whether she's in your life or not, you can be out in public, you can look at a beautiful woman just being herself, in the flow, expressing that energy. You can soak it in, it can fill you up. You can have a desire to actually have her, but you don't have to pursue the woman. What you can do is get used to that feeling of being passionate, having a strong desire for the feminine. And then when you go back to work, when you go out into life and you're moving towards your purpose, you can put that passionate energy into your actions. You can put that desire of wanting to have the feminine, wanting to commune and penetrate and be with the feminine and just penetrate her open so that she blooms more than energy. You can have that same passionate desire to penetrate and want to give it into your work, into your purpose. When you go into a business meeting and you're presenting your product or your service, and you want to present your product or service in such a way where you actually penetrate and affect and impact your prospective client. You know, when you're coming up with a business idea and you're full of passion and you're thinking about it, the same desire you have for a beautiful, sexy woman, you can put that into your creative business project. Right now, you know, I'm here with you. I'm doing this podcast. The same energy that I feel for the feminine is what I want to give in this podcast. I'm leaning into it. I want to give you the passion, the burning desire that I have to enter a woman, to enter the world and give my gift. That's the same thing. So for me, I love going out and being around beautiful women who are sexy, you know, beautiful women who are elegant, because just seeing the yearning come to their body, the love, the radiance that they have, I soak that in. And whether I make love with them or not, whether I commune with them or not, I know that I can take that same energy and I can put it into my podcast. I can put it into my purpose. I can put it into my business, my work. It's gonna help me make more money. Let me give you a short little story. You know what I mean? One of the most feminine women that I ever had in my life. I mean, this woman had mad skills. Kind of a short female, extremely fit. She was into yoga. She could strip. I mean, this girl could. She had all the old school and the new school. So she could strip, but at the same time, she could sing. She was a vegan chef. She'd be at the house, keeping everything tidy and clean, you know, just flowing through the house. So the night that not the night that I met her, because I ain't gonna tell you how I met her, but the first night we made love, it started with us. I scooped her up and we went to the club. And the way that she would express herself in the car on the way there, it was like some shit out of a movie. She'd be in the seat in this nice black dress with these heels on, with these like rose frills coming up her ankles. I was cruising down Flamingo, headed towards Las Vegas Boulevard, and she's laid back like this, and she kicked that foot up and literally moved the visor down to look at herself in the visor with her foot, and she'd and look at herself, and she would just like look at her radiance and everything, and then she put it back up with her foot, and then she looked left at me, and I'm looking at her, I'm driving, I'm like, goddamn. We're moving, I'm feeling mad desire flowing through my body. We're playing some real sensual music. We pull up to the club, it was a Mirage, we go inside One Oak. Inside the club, we're at the table, she's standing there, the music is vibrating, and she's just sitting there like moving her hips just casually, just flowing, not caring about anything. I grab 2 shots, we take them and go on the dance floor. I remember we're standing on the dance floor and she's dancing, she's looking at me like her eyes are extremely wide open. Like imagine like a width of eyes, like so open that she's just like longing for you to take her. Like that's what it looked like. She looked like she was ready to surrender at the moment that I was ready to have her. And she has her arms around my neck, I have my arms around her waist, we're dancing. She's moving like just extremely in sync with the music. And then I'm looking at her in her eyes and she's looking at me, and then just the way that she's looking at me, it like draws us both together like a magnet. And then she closes her eyes, we kiss, but the way we kiss, I can feel electricity moving between us because she's controlling the energy so much. Like she's so in the flow of how she's expressing that love through herself that it's like, I can feel it moving up and down my body. So a little bit later, we leave the club, we go to the house. Long story short, we're in the bedroom, she's naked, you know what I'm saying? I walk inside, she has candles lit, she's walking around the edge of the bed, and she kind of just climbs up on the bed looking over her shoulder at me, and she just lays down. And then I get onto the bed, she undoes my clothes, takes them off, and then that night, basically, she was on top of me. I mean, it was dark, candles lit, essential oils diffusing. The whole night she has her eyes open while she's on top of me, and she's just grinding mad slow. Like, I remember when I first entered her, she literally opened up her pussy lips and put them on my dick and was just like pulling them in. Like all my players who's ever felt that ring, you know what I'm saying? That squeezing ring. She had that ring, but the lips were just pulling me in all the way until I was like in her cervix basically. And then she was just slowly gyrating like for like 3 hours, and I was tired. Like, I was erect as hell because she was so feminine. Like, there was no way I was gonna go down. But I remember, like, after she had orgasmed a couple times, you know what I mean? I could tell there was a point where she had a cervical orgasm because of the way her body was like gyrating and moving. I fell asleep, you know what I'm saying? And the bitch was still going. So yeah, I say all that to say this, like, after that experience with her, she became my muse. Like, the way that she just lived her life, the way that she expressed and allowed herself to be so feminine. All I wanted to do was make sure she was taken care of. All I wanted to do was be present with her. All I wanted to do was be there so I could draw in that energy, penetrate her and bloom her open and feel more and more of that energy. Over the next month, I went so hard in business because I transmuted that energy, like I was saying, the law of sex transmutation. I transmuted that energy into my work, and I busted the biggest check of my life. I made $13,000 in that February. So what I say that to say this, like, if you appreciate and value and respect women, my fellas, you can take yourself to another level in terms of what you do in business, in terms of what you do pursuing your purpose, even in terms of what you do pursuing women and just being a stronger man. So that's all I'm gonna say on that topic, ladies and gentlemen. Now, the next segment is called Earn Her Submission, and she will fill you with surrender and devotion.
Enjoy. This is another Infosol production.
So how do we earn the submission of a woman? I know a lot of men, what you want most if you're masculine.
This is an original instrumental.
Your greatest desire would be to have a beautiful feminine woman say to you, I trust you, I trust your direction, and I will follow you to the end of the earth. You want a woman who's gonna be ride or die, like we like to say. You want a woman who trusts you to the point where she's willing to let go and be a part of your direction and just fill up y'all's household, fill up you, fill up your children if you decide to have them.
Enjoy.
And you just want to have that kind of devotional life partner. Nothing would carry you further in life than having a feminine woman who's completely devoted to you, your household, and your purpose, and where y'all are going in life.
This is an original instrumental.
Nothing would fill you up more than that and make you want to drive harder and be more willing to kill, protect, and give all of yourself to your life than a woman who is devoted to the point of a woman who's devoted to God. You know, viewed you as a God that she could actually follow and trust and surrender to. So how do we earn that type of surrender from the feminine? What we have to understand is that the feminine experiences a lot of dissatisfaction and disappointment. You know, through many women's lives, they had to unfortunately grow up with a father who was not living his purpose. He was a man who was content with simply going to work, earning his paycheck, paying the bills, watching TV, eating enough to get full, going to sleep, having a nut with his wife, and then just repeating that cycle of complacency for all their life. And she had to witness her mother be dissatisfied by never having a man who was on his purpose and alive in that way, blooming her mother open so that radiance and love could flow through her into the household, into their life. So a lot of women have seen mediocrity in men from the time that they were young girls. And all of the interactions that they've had with men in their adolescence, in their young adulthood, in their adulthood, have been dissatisfying. You know, unfortunately, not a lot of men these days have actually developed that masculine capacity where we have learned to let go of everything that is not eternal. You see, a lot of men, in order to be on your purpose in life, you have to learn how to let go of everything that's unimportant, and you have to learn how to prioritize the importance of your purpose. As a man, you're supposed to be identified with everything that does not change in this world. And you're supposed to live on your purpose. But a lot of men are afraid to be that, I would say, committed to their purpose. They're afraid to actually give all of themselves to a specific mission in life, to a specific woman or women in life, to the point where they have nothing left to give. Because a lot of men are afraid that if they give themselves that much and they don't achieve the success they want, they don't actually win in business the way they want to, or they don't acquire and keep that woman that they try to give themselves to, they're afraid of the loss. They're afraid that if they give all of themselves and then don't actually get what they were trying to get, they'll have nothing left and they'll be asked out. So a lot of men live a shallow version of who they could be. And what they do is they pursue money. They pursue nice cars. They pursue sex with women. And they pursue a lot of superficial, shallow, temporary pleasures that act as substitutes for the deepness and richness that they really want to feel through pursuing their purpose and actually giving all of themselves to something that will last eternally in terms of the spiritual. And a lot of women, they don't want to trust a man who is afraid to pursue his purpose. They don't trust that man because a man who is shallow, a man who is not a deep man, all that he's doing is he's living for the shallow release of pleasure. He's living to get his nut off, like I like to famously say. You know, when he's having sex with a woman, he's not trying to penetrate her and bloom her open to greater depths of love. He's trying to get in there and get a few pumps in and get his nut off so he can feel that relaxation and that emptiness of coming. This man is pursuing finances. He might be in the stock market, he might be in entrepreneurship, he might be in sales or something like that. He might be in the underworld selling drugs and shit. But he's trying to acquire money so that he can feel safe from the financial vulnerability of not having money, basically. Like, he wants to get to a place where he has money so that he can just kind of sit back and relax and know that his bills are paid for and know that he doesn't have to stress and worry about anything. But in the doing of that, he's not pursuing his purpose and looking for that greater fulfillment of how he can give his gift to the world and his woman. And you see, when women experience men constantly like that, who are living shallowly, who are living in the shadow of who they could be as a divine masculine, they learn to basically just distrust men altogether. And the only way for you to earn the submission of a woman to the point where she will literally let go of all of her conscious control and allow the flow of love and life force to flow through her into you, into y'all's household, into your children, is if you are so committed to your purpose that she knows in her heart that you would never compromise moving towards your mission for something like financial gain, for something like sexual gratification, for something like temporary escape from the challenges of life, like going on a vacation. She needs to know that at the priority of your life, it is your purpose. That's the only way that she can trust your masculine capacity to take her, y'all's children, and y'all's household towards greater depths of love. So that's how that goes. My fellas, you gotta stop being afraid of giving yourself to everything in your life. You know, you gotta learn how to be okay with letting go, because at the end of the day, no matter how much money you make, no matter how good your credit is, no matter how many cars you have, no matter how many houses you have, you are gonna die. You are gonna lose every materialistic possession that you have ever acquired. You are gonna lose your woman, and one day, even your children are gonna cease to exist, whether or not it's after your life. So as a man, you have to be intimately close to death. You have to be intimately close to the ending of life, the going away of things. For me, I've always known my purpose, and I think it's because when I was a child, I almost died so many times. When you encounter death as a human, you have a moment where you experience a letting go. Because in that moment where you're like, damn, I'm about to die, like it's over, like I'm about to die, you understand that everything that's ever happened and everything that you thought was gonna happen no longer exists. The clothes you have at home, whatever you have at home, it doesn't matter anymore, because in your life it's about to end in this moment, and all that you have is how you lived your life. All that you have as a man, as a person, is how you lived your life on a day-to-day basis, and what legacy did you leave behind in the form of your purpose and your gifts that help bloom the world towards greater development, towards greater love, towards forward movement. And if you don't have that, you are always going to be dissatisfied as a man. I meet so many men who are depressed and just not alive and not awake in their eyes, and it's because they're not living on their purpose. You can get everything else in right. You can fuck bitches, you can get money, you can have a nice pad, you can have a fly whip, you can have jewelry, you can have a fly clothes, all that shit, but at the end of the day, if you aren't following a purpose that you feel is gonna live beyond you, something that's more important than yourself, you are always going to feel dissatisfied as a man. You need to have something spiritually that you can pour yourself into, that you know is gonna be a gift for women, a gift for the world, a gift for your family, a gift for your community at large. So that if you were to die today, you need to live your life in such a way where you feel like, to this day, I did everything I could to make this world a better place. I did everything I could to gift this world in a way that would open it up more, bring less chaos, bring more order, bring less destruction, bring more healing, bring more abundance, bring less scarcity. You need to live your life in that way. And don't wait until you have more money. Don't wait until you have better credit. Don't wait until you have a better network. Don't wait until you know more shit. Go into a place of stillness. Feel what it is that you know you can give to make the world a better place, and start living that way now. You gotta adjust your life to be a better masculine man today, because you don't know if you're gonna be alive tomorrow. You don't. Anybody who's ever almost died understands that reality. Anybody who's had a lot of people in their life die understands that reality. And my ladies, you need to adjust your life so that every moment of every single day you are expressing through yourself, letting go enough, being vulnerable and open enough to allow that feminine essence of yearning and love to flow through you, because every moment you do that, you bring more fullness to the world. You bring more fullness to your man, you bring more fullness to your family, your children, and yourself. And you don't want to die as a woman feeling like, damn, I was closed off, I was rigid, I was tense, and I did not allow through my vagina, my body, my breasts, my eyes, my mouth, the way I talk, the way I walk, the way I flow through life. You don't want to live and feel like I could have given more, but I didn't. I held myself back from being more for everything around me because I was afraid of being vulnerable and allowing myself to surrender, because something bad might happen if I allow myself to surrender that much. And that's why a lot of women are afraid these days of actually being submissive and admitting that they want to be submissive to a man. Because like I said a second ago, a lot of women have grown distrustful of men at large. But you need to get to the point to where you are okay. Well, you need to get to the point where you understand how to choose a better man, a man who's on his purpose, a man of integrity, a deep man who is not willing to compromise the direction that he knows he needs to move toward to bring greater love and openness to the world. Because if you find a man like that, then you can finally relax in your femininity and submit to his direction. Not to submit to him in the sense that he's telling you what to do, but submit to that direction moving towards love, and surrender your consciousness so that the flow of life can move through you. Maybe it'll be gloomy at times. Many times it'll be radiant, joyous, abundant, and beautiful. But you have to be okay with surrendering and knowing that anytime you're chaotic or gloomy or depressed, your man is going to be there to hold you down, because he's conscious, he's not emotionally reactive, and he's present, and he's going to penetrate you and bloom you back so that that life force and that radiance and that joy can flow back through you. And the more you can do that, the more fulfilled you're going to feel. You see, men and women spiritually in life, when we're moving towards enlightenment, we're all moving towards the same place, which is a total state of letting go. A man wants to give so much of himself and penetrate and bloom so much that he has nothing left to give, to the point where there is no more him. The feminine, the woman, she wants to submit and surrender and let go of her consciousness and her control so much, and allow life force to flow through her so much that there's no more her. It's just the flow of life. So we reach the same place, but men do it through penetration and freedom. Women do it through submission and surrender. So yes, indeed, ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna skip a couple things for the sake of time, but I want to touch on 3 more points. Women want to open and be filled as fully as possible. So women want to be open and to be filled. What does that mean? So when we look at the body of the woman and the body of the man, we have a totally different anatomy from one another. The man has a penis, which becomes erect and moves outward. A woman has a vagina, which moistens, softens, opens, and deepens inside of her to receive. So women are all about opening and receiving. Men are all about erection and penetration. So when we say your woman wants to open and be filled, what we mean by that is ultimately she wants to be able to be in front of a masculine partner that she trusts enough to submit to and surrender to, so that she can then open and have that life force bloom through her. But what she needs from her man, see, the greatest gift any man can offer a woman is his ability to read her. And what I mean by that is, when he looks at his woman, he needs to be able to understand, where is her closure? Where is the woman tense and rigid? Where's the tension, literally, in the muscular system of her body? Where is the tension in her soul and her heart? Where has she been dissatisfied to where she no longer trusts relaxing and being vulnerable and opening? Was it because of something her father did or some other masculine man that was supposed to protect her? Was it because of the lack of capacity of her previous lovers? Were they more concerned with getting their nut off and less concerned with actually opening her to greater states of love and divinity? So when you're looking at your woman, you gotta be able to look at her in the eyes, but you also have to look at everything about her body. When she moves, you need to be able to understand where that place of movement is coming from. Is it a flow or is it a choppy, rigid movement? When she tries to relax and open, literally the front of her body, is there tension in her shoulders, in her muscular system, around her, in her thighs and her legs? Is there a lot of closure there? So you need to be able to understand how to see where all that tension is. And you got to learn how to develop your masculine capacity to actually be present with that, see it, and then be able to touch it, soften it, use your words in such a way where you address the things that need to be addressed for your woman to relax and let go of whatever trauma it is that's pinned up inside of her. You need to be able to use your mouth, your tongue, your lips in a way where you're able to bring your energy to different parts of her body and bring love to those parts and intimacy to those parts where maybe they've been lacking in that, so that you can relax those areas, those organs, those tissues, and open them up. You need to be able to use your penis as a man. When you enter a woman and you're inside the woman's vagina and you're in there, you're stroking, you're in the flow of the stroke, and you can see in your woman's eyes, she gets tense, she gets rigid, she closes her eyes, and then she wants to have a shallow come. You got to understand how to bring breath through your body and breathe into your woman and get her out of that shallow breathing, which is her not trying to go deeper, basically. It's her closing instead of opening, if that makes any sense. She's literally closing her body. So you got to understand how to push her shoulders open, put her wrist and her hands back, and then get inside of her and breathe. Open your eyes. Be so open with your eyes when you're looking at your woman that she opens her eyes and she realizes that it's okay. And then you get deeper inside the vagina, and metaphorically, you're getting deeper inside the woman's soul, like her spirit and her heart. And you want to be able to say passionate things to your woman, because all women want to experience love and passion and that yearning that flows through them. So you got to be talking to your woman in such a way where you tell her, you know what I mean? I love the way that you look at me with your eyes wide open. I love the energy that I feel flowing through you. I love the passion that I see coming through your eyes. I don't want you to close. You press inside of her, you might hit the cervix, she might cringe and close and try to, you know what I'm saying, creep away from you. You gotta push the bitch's hips back down and get back inside and just gently massage the cervix and keep massaging the cervix and keep massaging the cervix. And it's gonna, you know, it's gonna bring pain to her because she's not used. She has a lot of trauma trapped in that part of her body because that's the most feminine part of her body. All of the disappointment, the dissatisfaction, the lack of trust, the abuse, all of that she's experienced from all the masculine entities in her life, a lot of that is gonna be right there. So when you're in there, you gotta lovingly massage that area and give it time. Bring your attention and your touch to all of her body so that you can keep relaxing everything around her. The more that you do that and keep using your mouth, keep talking, keep speaking words of love to her, keep telling her that you love her radiance, you love seeing her open, keep encouraging the openness. And then eventually when you wanna get to the point where you start putting work in on the shit. My next point is your ravishment must match her surrender. So when you finally get your woman to the place where she's open, she's receiving you, her heart is open, her chest is open, her eyes are open, her mouth is open, you're inside of her, you're deep. Nigga, you gotta put in work. You gotta get in there and you gotta go to work deep inside the vagina. And you gotta learn how to hit your angle so you can hit them with that woo-wop one time. You can't just go in and out. You gotta understand how to get and work in different angles. Ba-ba-da, ba-da-da, ba-da-da, ba-da-da. You gotta work the angles, you know what I'm saying? You gotta learn how to press that leg up so that knee is close to the shoulder. You wanna get as deep as possible inside. You wanna love the cervix as much as possible to open your woman to greater depths. You gotta keep hitting that shit. Sometimes you gotta turn it around, press her hips so they're flat on the bed, get inside the vagina, and ride that shit like a cowboy. But you need to feel like yourself going in, like hitting the back, hitting the bottom, shift an angle, hit the bottom, keep massaging the tissues, keep doing it from both sides. Keep working that shit over and over. You need to last. Your intention as a man when you're making love to your woman, when you're fucking your woman, is that you need to actually want her to open. Your intention as a developed masculine man is, I want my woman to open as much as possible. I want to achieve love tonight. I don't mean like on no simp shit. What I mean by that is you want your woman to open so much that love flows through her and fills you up. Love, because you want to feel the life force through her, man. You've never experienced energy the way that you have when a woman is submissive and she's surrendered and she's actually feeling love and she's soft finally and she's let go of the tension and she's not cringing anymore and she's opening. And every time you thrust, she doesn't creep away, but she opens to receive more of it. And you see that like every time you thrust, your woman gets hornier, she gets more passionate, and it makes you want to go harder and harder, and you keep going, and now you're in the flow. You're actually having sex, you're actually making love, you're actually fucking, and it makes you go harder. That energy you feel in that moment where you can just go and go and go and go, and you keep hitting it, different angles, different positions, you're hitting it. She's squirting, you know what I'm saying? She's coming different times. You're feeling the wetness all around you, dripping. That, and I know how passionate you feel. I know how much desire you feel. When you get up from that moment, after y'all have made love intensely and she's fully open, she's surrendered to the point where there's nothing left to give, she's came 8 times, and you get up and you look out the fucking window, me, myself, I look out at fucking downtown, and I'm like, I wanna, like the way I feel right now, I wanna pursue my purpose in the same way. I wanna give myself to my goals. I wanna pursue everything that I wanna have in life. And I wanna bring all these gifts to the community and just bring abundance and just be the strongest. I feel on top of the world in that moment, you know what I mean? So the way you make love with your woman is the way that you're gonna make love with the world. the way you penetrate your woman is the way that you're gonna penetrate your goals. The way that you pursue your woman and persist through her layers of closure is the same way that you are going to show up in the world. If your woman is in a low mood and she's frustrated and she's closed off and she's gloomy and depressed, and that turns you off and it makes you want to come over here and just like find some easier challenge to deal with, like looking at nature or drinking a beer or watching porn, that's the same way you're going to show up in the world. In the real world, there's going to be challenges, man. There are going to be things that come up inconveniently. You know, you might be trying to close a client and then some bullshit happens, like some other factor comes into place where now they can't really move in the same direction. So you have to figure out a whole nother angle now. With your purpose, you might be moving towards it and then you find out you're lacking in certain resources. You know, there's certain challenges that you can't make it through. So what are you gonna do in that moment? Are you gonna close your eyes and find some easier challenge? Or are you gonna know that's your purpose and move towards it anyway? And no matter what, persist presently, consciously, without getting frustrated, without getting emotional, and persist to the point where you get past the challenge and open that up so you can give your gift the way you were supposed to. That is it, ladies and gentlemen. You know, shout out to all the beautiful women, all the feminine women who are not afraid to submit, surrender. Shout out to all the goddesses. Shout out to all the bad bitches. Shout out to all the thorough masculine men. Shout out to all my players. Shout out to all my players in training, all the fellas, all the gentlemen. Shout out to all the well-dressed men, you know what I mean? When you live this way, you will be more full, more alive, more awake, more awakened as a man, more strong. All my ladies, again, I want to stress this, if you don't take nothing else away, your feminine energy is powerful. It is not something weak. It is not something that you should be ashamed of. It is one of the most powerful things that we have in our world. Anybody who doesn't see that, it's because of their lack of development and the fact that they just do not understand how to actually relate to life force, which is flowing through you. Yes, indeed. My ladies, stay radiant, stay beautiful, stay open. My fellas, stay conscious, stay grounded, stay still, and stay persistent. Organic Growth Nation, y'all have a beautiful day or evening whenever you're listening to this. Everybody, stay up.